Hey guys, welcome to Horror and Me. I'm your host, Darren Mitchell. And on today's video, we're going to be reviewing the new horror film, The Dark Tapes. If you guys followed my video from a few days ago, I showed you guys a little bit of the trailer for this new movie. It had a limited theatrical release, and now it is going to be widely released on video-on-demand platforms like Amazon, Google Play, different apps like that, where you can rent the film, and that will be released on April 18th. But I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this movie. When we saw the trailer and we took a look at it, it was pretty intriguing. We talked about how this film has just come off its festival run, and it had pretty good reviews for it, for the people that got to see the screeners. And again, you guys know that the directors had reached out to me. Michael McGowan wrote, edited, and directed this film, as well as a co-director, which was Vincent Gastini. He also did the special effects on this movie. But we took a look at the trailer, and there was a lot of cool elements that we saw in that. We know that this movie was going to be a found footage film, that it was going to kind of blend some different genres of sci-fi and horror, and also some myth type stuff. And that's pretty much what I got from this film right out of the gate. If you are a lover of found footage films and also anthology films, you are really going to like this movie. And as we go through this review, I'll discuss those reasons and why I felt that way. But I first want to start off and just talk about independent film in general. This is an independent movie. It wasn't done by a big studio where they were just pumping money into it the whole time. This is probably done in a micro budget. And from the film world, which I come from, again, I've worked on feature films as well, so I tend to take my stance when I watch movies from almost that crew person perspective of just, oh wow, they did that camera angle, that was really cool, or they edited something a specific way to give it the intensity that they were looking for. So when I watch a movie, I tend to perceive movies in that direction. More than just the visuals and the narrative of the film, I look at it from a crew person perspective. And this film, because it was going with more of the found footage style and documentary style film, you're going to really get that with this movie. But what was different for me versus a lot of the other big budget horror films of this style, like the Paranormal Activities, and even going back to like a Blair Witch, that's sort of shaky camera style. This movie really, to me, kind of held its own, not only because it's an independent horror film, and I have such a love of independent horror. I think it's definitely just the future of horror in general. It just seems like lately, at least over the last 10, 15, 20 years, I haven't seen a lot of good movies come out from big production companies. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the laziness has definitely caught up to them within the horror genre. And you guys hear me talk often about independent horror and how when you're working on a smaller budget and working with smaller crews and not being able to pay thousands of dollars for that VFX scene that they wanted to do, I saw a lot of creativity from these guys in this movie, where they had to reach further into the edit to try to pull out some of the creepy things that happen in this film. There was some special effects in this that were really, really good. There were some great practical effects with the creature that Vincent Gastini did. There was just a lot of elements to this movie that made me excited about it when I first started watching it. So basically, how the movie plays out, and there's going to be spoilers. I'm going to try to avoid as much as possible because I really think you guys should watch this movie. The movie basically starts out, and I have some cliff notes here because there's a lot going on being an anthology film. There was 4 different stories happening at the same time. Let me just grab a sip of my beer here, guys. Thank you. So basically the movie starts out in 2007, and pretty much what's happening in the beginning of the movie is it's setting up the entire movie. There's one of the anthology stories that carries itself through the entire movie. It kind of sets up the how the story is going to play out. But it kind of jumps all over from different time periods, which I'll talk about here in a second. But basically, the movie starts out, and there's like a seance being done, like an experimental type of seance thing is what they're saying it is. And it's between Associate Professor Nicole Fallick and also Professor Callahan. But basically what they talk about is how there's a time difference between the world we don't see and the world that we do live in. They're saying that they found this way where there's these demons or ghosts or whatever that for like, if they were to stand still in their time zone for a couple hours, in our time zone, we would only see them for that split second. So that split second is when we would see or encounter a ghost in your house or in a doorway. That's how they're setting up the explanation of how people will see a ghost in today in our world type of situation. So it kind of sets the movie up like that. And it was pretty creative how it went through the different stages of the other short films, the anthologies, within the movie. And what I really liked about this movie is it wasn't gory in any way. There was a little bit of gore and blood, but it was very tastefully done how they did it. And I think what they really did well with this movie is casting. I think casting was super important in this type of movie. As an example, once it moves from 2007 into 2011, it kind of goes into an anthology film of this family. It's these two people, and I don't want to talk about this one too much because it's a really good short within the movie, and how it plays out, especially at the end. I didn't see it coming at all. It was a total surprise. But basically, the family has these investigators, like the ghost hunters, come out to their house, and they call themselves PIP, P-I-P-P, which is Pacific Investigators of Paranormal Phenomenon. And when I was going back to the casting of this movie, it just, when I saw the girl, like there's always a girl as part of the investigation team. She was this girl with an Australian accent, and it just really played the part well. So that was the stuff that you'll see a lot with a lot of the independent films, is they really try to cast really good, strong actors for certain roles. And this one, for this person, was a very good role. I think the Australian accented girl in this movie did a fantastic job within her section of the movie. But it just goes on from there, and there's a family that comes that's in play, and the investigators come in, and they're investigating the family feels like there's a ghost in the house, and you hear noises and a bunch of weird stuff's happening. But it pretty much goes through that. And the investigators come in, and then a bunch of crazy stuff happens. And I won't tell you what happens at the end because it's really good. I thought it was very clever how they ended that short. And then from there, it pretty much goes on to 2007. And when it goes back to that, it shows a little bit more of the setup from the seance experiment stuff and the explanation of what's really going on in the beginning of the movie. And it goes to a really interesting, to me, part of this found footage style anthology film where they do some stuff with some web girls, which I thought was clever. It was definitely something that you don't see often. I thought they thought outside of the box on this, and how it plays out with the character. There's a character, Jerry, in this segment of the movie that I thought did a fantastic job. The acting was fantastic, and I really like how he portrayed the character with what happens to him and also the webcam girls. It was really interesting. There was a lot of things that this film touched on, which I thought was really cool, that you wouldn't see in like a huge, big budget, studio produced film where there's a lot of backlash from them, and they make cuts and say, oh, you can't do these types of things in this movie. There wasn't those restrictions. So again, that's really why I like a lot of independent films, and this one was good in that sense because there was a lot of touchy subjects that happened after this short in the movie. There's a rape scene, and there was a lot of things that were touched upon that you don't really see so much in a lot of bigger studio released horror films of this genre. So I was really impressed with what they could pack in to this movie. And then as it kind of goes on from there, there's a part with a character named Amanda, and she kind of closes the last of the 3 anthologies before it goes back to showing, like, doing the original, how it set up the beginning of the movie. And I thought that scene, and Amanda as an actress was very, very good. She was a very strong actress, and she really portrayed her character very well. I may show some stuff through this, you guys, different scenes from the film, but I really don't want to spoil it for you guys because I think as an independent horror film of this style, of this genre, to try to do an anthology film, also do a kind of documentary style, but do it tastefully with not only just the camera angles, like just weird stuff like when somebody's running or something like that, they set the camera down, but it's just angled at that right spot, that when something interesting is happening in the background, it really gives a good scare, or it really sets up the scene. There was a lot of that in this movie. So if you're expecting just a run-of-the-mill paranormal activity type of movie that is just, you already know what's going to happen before it happens sort of situation. You're not going to find that with this movie. It carried itself nicely. I thought at first when it started it was going to be a little messy with the anthology part of it and jumping between different times, but it held itself up really, really well. I was really impressed with it the whole way through. And then also, just to get back to Vincent's creature in this movie, I think it was really freaky. I thought it was pretty good, especially for an independent film. I thought it just really held its own. I thought it was creepy when it needed to be, and I also really liked in the edit how they didn't overdo it. They didn't really overproduce it. They didn't really overshow it. That was a big thing, not overshowing it and just making it dumb. They showed it when it needed to be seen. And they did it tastefully, and I really appreciated that when I watched this movie. So there was just a ton of things with this movie that I thought you guys especially would enjoy. I'm a huge fan of the slasher film. It's something that I love. I love the 80s slasher films. It's pretty much my go-to in any horror, but they don't make those anymore. So it's interesting to see how new horror that's coming out is coming with a smarter outlook of it and the way it's going to present itself on film. And when you sit back and you actually watch a movie that's made by somebody that you know scrounged up all their friends and family to make, I really appreciate it that much more. I've done it myself. I know a lot of my friends do it when they're making their movies. So again, I take that weird kind of side-skewed outlook when I watch movies to the everyday person. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review of this film. I really think you guys should see it. Again, it drops on April 18th. On pretty much any video on demand service that you guys can find. It's gonna be a really good movie. I mean, I really liked it. I can't recommend it enough. If I were to say to you today, should I watch this movie or not, I would definitely say yes. As a horror fan, you should watch this movie because there's a lot of interesting things that you haven't seen before. There's a lot of similarities of things that we've seen in other found footage movies, but there's a lot of things that you didn't see before. It's just how it plays out is very interesting, and I really think that they have a winner with this film. So I want to say thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. If you'd like to keep in contact with me and see more of my content, please follow my other social media sites, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook, where I post a lot of other things that you won't see here on YouTube. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys in the next video.